Life is a battle. It constantly attacks you and it constantly is coming after you, challenges you. This is because it wants you to grow, it wants you to improve, and it wants you to experience. Because everything is connected, what you experience eventually ends up as what world experience, what the universe experience, what life experience. So it wants you to experience and grow, because your growth leads to the growth of everything. So it constantly challenges you and it puts you under stress, because the way growth works is you stress, you break, you repair, you become stronger. If you look at it like a muscle, you stress the muscle with weight, it breaks down and there are slight tears that appear in it. It then repairs itself and you become stronger, you get more muscle. But there's a point where you put yourself under too much stress and you break. And there's a point where you put yourself under too little stress and it's too easy, you get bored. So the problems with putting yourself under too much stress is you can get demotivated because a task seems too daunting or overwhelming, or you can't handle the stress and you break. For the example of muscle, if you put your arm under so much stress and tension, you can snap your ligaments from your bones, and this takes way longer to recover from than just doing it at a point where it's just manageable. Because the Goldilocks rule with stress and tension is you want it to be 4% above your maximum effort. So you want to be performing at 104%. So a just manageable difficulty. If you go too high above that, it's going to feel like it's too hard and you're going to get demotivated. And if you go too high above that, you're going to break yourself. And then you're going to have to take a longer time to recover. But if you go underneath it, it's going to be too easy and you're going to get bored. So you need it to be just right, the Goldilocks rule. It needs to be just right at just manageable difficulty. So once you understand what your manageable difficulty is, so you slowly progress towards that, and you slowly add things that are going to put you under stress and difficult circumstances and make you uncomfortable, so you can grow more and more as a human. And the way you can do this is through pretty much any realm of human endeavour. So working out is a great one. You literally put your body under stress, so you're growing it, and then you're growing your experience through feeling and becoming more orientated and understanding of your body. And you're also growing through mental experiences, and you're going to understand and learn about how the body works. And you're going to be put in a difficult situation where you're in a new environment like the gym, where you're forced to meet new people, or at least to interact with them and be in the same space with them. So you're being stressed in so many different ways by just going to the gym. So that's a great one. And as well, there are so many benefits from it, because you can't leverage your strong mind without a strong body. So you go to the gym and you can focus on, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you can focus on building muscle. If you want to build an aesthetic physique because you want to look pretty, you can do that. And it's a great way to stress yourself and grow and become more complete. Another way is to interact with other humans, speaking to them, doing anything that would interact with them, if it's non-verbal communication or verbal communication. Next time you go to the supermarket, instead of going to self-checkout, go to someone at a till. And once they're serving you, just say, "How's your day been?" And then get into a conversation. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. It could literally be 3 words. But you want to be putting yourself in a position where you're forced to grow, and where you're forcing yourself to be stressed. Being nervous isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's a really good thing, because it means you're uncomfortable. It means that you're outside of the realm where you feel safe. And you're going to grow from that, because when you're nervous and you're uncomfortable and you feel even a slight hint of threat, you become alert and you just switch on. And especially if you don't allow yourself to fly away through the flight or flight mode and you stay to fight, you become so dialed in and so aware that everything is just boosted by like 10 times. So being nervous is a good thing. So you should be excited when you feel nerves, because it means that you're in a situation where you're improving, where you're becoming better. So nerves are a really good thing to have, because it's just a signal that you're becoming better. And once you've obviously mastered the small talk and you're going to people and you can say hi to them and you can initiate conversations, then it gets to the more difficult stuff, like going over to people and asking for their numbers, or speaking to them with the intention of going on a date. Like if you go and speak to a pretty woman, it can be quite daunting. And if you're trying to ask for their number or some way to communicate with them, there's several fears that come through that, because you can get the fear of rejection. You can feel like you'll be humiliated if they say no, or maybe you've made up some crazy ass concept in your head that's going to happen, where she'll embarrass you in front of the world, which wouldn't happen. But you can progress and you can make it so it's a just manageable difficulty for you. So you're not overwhelmed and it's not too easy. Like when I first asked for a girl's number, I was 16 at the time, and I was on this 3-week sort of, I'll say it was a course. I went there, and the first week I was quite antisocial. We were placed into groups, and I was speaking to the people in the group, but only because I was forced to. So I was speaking to all them, and there was this girl that I saw, and I was like, she's quite attractive. So I was basically just looking at her throughout the session, but not saying anything. I got home that night, and I wrote in my journal. I put the date as a week from then, because that was when the next session was. I wrote down what was going to happen in that session. I was going to speak to new people, and I was going to speak to this girl. I was going to find out this girl's name, and I was going to ask for this girl's number. And I left 2 blank spaces in that journal entry, which was for her name and for her number. The session comes around, and I go up to her throughout the session, and I start speaking to her. And I initiate a bit of conversation. It's not that great, but I initiated it, and we had a few small exchanges. The end of the session comes round, and I see her leave. I bolt to my shoes, put them on, bolt outside, catch up to her. I say her name, get her attention, and then I say, could I get your number? I've sort of developed a little bit of a crush on you, so I'd like to get your number. I ask her for it, and luckily she gives it to me. Like that really boosted my confidence, and I was really nervous for that. But when I got it, I was ecstatic, and my ability to interact with people through then has gone through the roof. But even if they don't give you their number and you feel disappointed and maybe a bit humiliated, even that feeling is good, because it means that you're promoting growth. There have been times when I've asked girls for their number or for going out on a date, and they've just said no. And you just go, shrug it off, go, oh well, at least I tried, at least I can check her off my list, she's no longer going to be my wife, you know? So you've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And the main ways to do that are through physical confrontation and mental challenge. So putting yourself in situations where you need to mentally essentially adjust to it, like social situations, and then physical challenges like going to the gym. And a really good way as well to stress yourself is start a martial art. Martial arts are absolutely terrifying when you start, because especially if you don't have any fighting experience, because you go in and you do your first session or whatever and you punch in the bag and you sort of get a little bit of confidence, and then they stick all this gear on you and you're fighting some fella who's been doing it for 9 years and he beats the shit out of you. And it's absolutely terrifying because you're just getting punched in the face and you got no clue what's going on. But after a while, you learn to love it. But in the first stages when you do it, because you're terrified and you're really nervous, but you conquer your nerves, you conquer the challenge, and you grow, you experience, and you become better. And that's what life is all about. It's about becoming better and improving and conquering every challenge that comes your way. And it is such a glorious experience to have, to just have the opportunity to live life. It is the most beautiful thing I can think of, if I'm being absolutely honest.